Today we pull out and have an upgrade for one of the most unique replicas GHK has ever created, known as the GHK G5. Because Tapp Airsoft sent me one of arguably the most unique sponsored modifications for any gas blowback replica ever created on the market. This single upgrade may just pack the secret formula to erase the fine line between gas blowback and HPA as we know it. And just before I tell you exactly what it does, I think it's important I first show you that the G5 works as intended, and some of the issues this upgrade can fix. Here we go, the test fire without the upgrade. Obviously, she works just fine. And it even locks back too. You see, the G5 is actually a pretty solid platform. That is, of course, if you can get past the constantly snapping feed lips of the GHK M4 platforms. And then inevitably, the lower receiver will just crack in half if you don't purchase the upper and lower connection receiver mod from Rogueworks. Obviously, I am a GBB nut myself, however, there's also the inevitable problems that gas does have. It's not the most efficient thing in the world. But where does HPA sit in all this? Specifically, we're talking without an engine, HPA is inherently more gas efficient. It's also cheaper than gas, and oftentimes sees less issues in the cold. Yes, you can easily just go the route of using an HPA adapter, which lets you run AEG mags and an HPA line on your GBBs. But one major problem is the feed lips are designed without the ability to stop the replica on empty, so you lose the really cool manual of arms. That was until the guys over at Tapp Airsoft said, watch this, and created a lower housing to take all of the stock and standard parts from the GHK G5 and allow you to run it on AEG EVO mags. What's so interesting specifically about AEG ASG EVO mags is they're an AEG replica that have a stop on empty function, so it follows that manual of arms. So I think if we install this guy, we get the benefit of HPA, the fun blowback of GBB, and we get to keep all the fun little bells and whistles, like the stop on empty and bolt release. Like I said, we might just be bridging the gap. Just a quick look at everything that I received. You'll get the adapter, which is that big lower receiver piece, and I don't know if it comes pre-installed for everybody, but mine came pretty pre-installed. I just have to take all this stuff out of the G5 and put it in here. Two different stock adapter options. We have an AEG stock, a tube stock adapter, and then a rail stock. This is to help you drill pilot holes in your already existing grip if you'd like to. I also have a grip from Tapp Airsoft that already has a hole drilled through it, so we can run the HPA line through it. This hook that I'm not 100% sure what it is, I reached out to Tapp Airsoft and hopefully they answer before I finish this video. If they do, I'll let you know what this does, and hopefully I don't need it. It might just be something to assist you in putting things together. I'm not 100% sure. The little HPA adapter for the end of this guy, because you're going to have to thread it through the grip first before we actually throw it on the end of the hose. This small little cushioning pad that's going to help reduce the amount of wear from the blowback of the blowback unit onto the rear of the receiver, so we'll glue that in place in a second too. And this small little printed pin is actually to help us install all the hammer parts. It's just there to assist. After we're done with it, we won't need it anymore. Now's the part where we get this guy out of the way and we bring the G5 into play. Hope you're ready for some teching, because it's going to be a long one. To start off, my disassembly is going to be a little bit different than yours, just to get the upper and lower receiver apart. For you, if yours is pretty stock, you're going to have to remove this pin and then unscrew this threaded pin cap and punch the pin out from the other side. Before I do that, since I have the Zenith kit from Rogueworks installed, I just have to remove the Zenith kit first, so I'm going to pop this guy off the back of the receiver just by using this screw. With that screw removed, I should now be able to pop the upper and lower receiver apart, and I can actually reopen the stock. Now, for me, like I said, you should already have this pin removed. I'm going to have to unscrew this guy. With both those pins removed, one poking out and the other completely taken out, we'll take our upper receiver, put it aside. We actually don't need that anymore. I'll pull the mag out, and this is the only part we'll be working on from here forward. Probably looking at mine now and realizing I have this big silver piece with a buffer on the back. This is part of the Zenith kit from Rogueworks. I'm not going to install this because I don't think I have to, and you specifically probably won't have it in. If you do, I don't think we have to uninstall that yet. If we do, I'll let you know. I'm going to start off by attacking the screw in the lower grip. We have to pull that out. And then we should be able to separate those two, and you'll see that screw pop out as well. You should see a nut on the other side. That's just what that screw pops into. Make sure you remove that so you don't lose it. And next, we have to attack these two grub screws in the base. One holds a spring and a ball bearing, and the other holds a spring and detent. We're going to start with the one on the left side of the lower receiver. That should have a spring and a ball bearing behind it, so be careful. Those three removed and stored in a safe location. Let's attack the other side. Now this one in particular is the spring and the pin that hold the large takedown pin in place. We'll just pop that guy out as well. That pin should come out too. And then if you need to, you can assist it by just pushing something down in the center. That's not going to fit. This will do. And you can see that come out the lower side. Next is the mag catch. Push the button and start to rotate it. You're just going to keep rotating until it pops into two pieces. Keep a thumb on the button that you would regularly use to take off or take out your mags, because that guy is under spring tension. You can see there's the screw there. And then as we pull this guy out, it'll come out with a spring. We're also going to take the bolt catch out. We don't want to lose that. That'll just wiggle out of place. And then we can start by disassembling the fire selector switch. Yours might look a little different than mine, but it's going to be very similar. I'm going to go ahead and start the unscrewing process. And then that side should pop off. Now on yours, you should be good to roll, but on mine, I have to remove the opposite side because I have the reinforced selector that stops it at 45 degrees from Rogueworks and not the standard selector switch. So it's a little bit longer and it can't fit out the side. On yours specifically, you're going to start to twist it, pull it, and just kind of like slowly wiggle it around until it comes all the way out the left side. Mine, I'm going to pull this piece off, if I can ever get it off. And then I'm going to drop this guy out the center. You can see mine's going to look a little different from yours because of those longer wings. I don't know what the likelihood of you seeing this here, but the inside of the FCU, there are these really long extensions of these existing springs. You can see that long one that runs across this way. That holds this pin in place. And then there's another one that runs up this way and ends here, and that holds this pin in place. So what we have to do is lift those springs upwards and at the same time punch out the pins. So what I'm going to do is start off with the hammer pin, and we're just going to pull that guy backwards. See what I mean? I can use like a pair of tweezers, and at the same time I'm going to punch this pin out. Now, should be able to release that spring, and then continue to punch that pin all the way through. It's going to be under spring tension, so just be careful when you pull that pin all the way out. You can see that indent where the spring sits in place. Just be careful, slowly wiggling this guy out of place. Again, we're under spring tension here. That'll help remove the initial pin, or the initial spring that holds the back pin in place, and that spring should slap back down. Next, we have to punch this pin out because really an interesting system. That spring on the right side dropped, and now it's holding this pin in place. Originally, this pin was being held in place by the spring we just took out, and this pin was being held in place by the spring that just released. So next, what we're going to do is release this pin, and to do that, we just have to pull this spring upwards. Oh, and don't forget about this little guy that releases the gas. There's also a spring that is connected to. Just be super careful. It's going to be a little loose. It's like hooked in there under that little hook. And now we're going to go ahead and punch this guy out. I'm going to keep a finger in there. Pull this guy all the way out. And slowly release the trigger. And all the connection pieces that hold the trigger. You should be able to hold those together. It'll make things a lot easier later. Now that this pin is loose, we can just go ahead and punch this guy out too. And with that will also come this piece. And there's a spring at the base. Don't lose that either. And of course, yes, this is where the fun begins. Let's rebuild our trigger piece, or our trigger mechanism. And what we're going to need to do is take this little sister pin that was included in the box, the trigger, this small spring that's already screwed in, it shouldn't have popped out, and then these two pieces stay pretty connected by a spring that's under the bottom, the trigger and this small little disconnect piece. We're going to press this down, and then from the right side, I'm going to just install this pin ever so slightly so that it only sticks through these two sides and doesn't go all the way through, because we're actually going to have to get another part through there. I am going to install this spring. I'm sorry, not this spring. So there's two of them. You see the larger and the smaller. We're going to take the larger of the two, and we're going to install it on the right side facing downwards. Next, we got this little piece, and you see that opening that I created? We're going to sit it down on the opening side like this before we push that pin all the way through. And then follow it up with the pin. And we'll punch this back out of place later. This is just going to help keep everything together, and those springs are just held in place by friction right now. Next, we'll take that smaller of the two springs, and we're going to install it like this, with this protrusion sitting in that hole and wrapped around the pin port. And it should sit something like this. Next, I'm going to take this guy. We're going to drop the hook down into the spring, and it should situate itself like this. And then very carefully just put it down. Try to keep all those parts together. You're going to want the pin that has the longer head before the little indent. And then if it comes apart, that's one thing, but mine didn't. There should be a small spring and then this long rod piece. We're going to install this guy first. Should be easiest. And we're going to drop that. I don't know if you could see the indent up in the front left of the receiver. We're going to pop this guy down in this orientation like this. And that'll just sit in place up in the front of the lower receiver. Now that lowest bottom left hole that the pin would go through, we're going to take that pin and we're going to slowly insert it just enough to hold that piece in place while we continue to drop the trigger parts inside of the new receiver. I'm going to drop in like this, and this guy, the valve knocker, is going to sit up against the front wall. The only thing that we have to make sure is this spring actually has to be pulled forward against the floor of the lower receiver, which is easier said than done. As we start to insert this, I'm going to grab a pair of tweezers, and hopefully you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. If I pull the tweezers over with my big fingers in the way, and I stick them through this back hole, I should be able to drop it down in place. I'm going to have to reattach that. Now that I've got it kind of towards the right side and pulling upwards, we're going to try and wrap it around and get it on top of this little ledge here. You could see that on the inside of the receiver, this small little plastic ledge. It helps to kind of bend it inwards a little bit. And as we push it down, then we'll pry it upwards. It's on the wall. I'm going to take this spring now, pull this guy forward, and I'm going to pull this spring up a little bit. Now, I still got to get my valve knocker lock back in there. I'm going to actually just take this guy now, and we're going to push it through this side to replace, again, left to right with the smaller space and the small cutout to replace that pin that we took out before. And that'll pop out. You should be able to release now. Oh my God, my hands got tight. So I got the valve knocker back in, and I'm just going to press this pin all the way through now that we installed previously. And we should be able to just make sure we can line that up. We might have to push it down a ways because it's a little unlined up at the other side. So give it a tad bit of convincing just to get it in place. Like that, that pins through and we can finally rest our fingers. Now just an update to where we are in terms of everything. This spring on the right is now latched into the groove on that pin. The valve knocker is connected to that spring at the base. This spring on the left is resting on top of this piece, and both pins are now dropped all the way through. I'm going to do this next part pretty zoomed in. So here is your hammer. It's going to drop in like this, and we're going to install it down this direction. What we have to do is, you see that spring that's going across the wall there, another one of those ones that's going to lock on the pin. We're going to actually lift that up. I use this small little plastic tool that I was using. Pull it all the way up against the wall. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Should probably get this in like this first, and then I'll pull it so my fingers are out of the way. We're going to drop this guy down in, and now that that is on the outside of the hammer, we just have to get that valve knocker to go between that groove of the hammer so it can drop in place. Just takes a little bit of wiggling. You'll find its place. Now what I'm going to do here is push the valve knocker back, because it has to sit behind this plunger like that, and then while slowly kind of dropping everything down where it's supposed to go, if I can get everything lined up, we should be able to push this pin through. Okay, so my recommendation is, if you have one side that looks pretty open, kind of start to jam this little assister through. And now I'm going to try my best to punch this pin head first through this side. Might take a little bit of wiggling and pushing the hammer in place. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Next, we have to continue to pull this spring up, because that spring needs to sit on the groove on the far side of this pin. So as we push this through, it should inherently drop in place. If not, we're just gonna have to punch that. Oh, no, it worked. It worked. Okay, so you could see that spring on that side. That is the assembled product. Gotta take a picture, a screenshot of it, because it's a pain in the butt to do. Now with everything installed correctly, you should notice that the hammer sets. Pull this guy forward, and you should be able to pull the trigger and watch the little gas release press the valve. That's how you know everything's functioning as it should. These pins should all be locked in place. The next thing we're going to do is throw back together our fire selector switch, and obviously, like I said, mine isn't going to work, so we're going to have to attack all the stock parts. Now with both of our selector pieces, you're going to see the one that has the whole rod with it, and then the other small, just individual selector piece. The rod piece is going to go in from the left side, and we'll kind of just start to fit this guy on through. It takes a little bit of convincing. Best bet is just to wiggle it around until it goes in place. But there we are in place, and you should have it set up in this orientation first. We'll take the opposing side, throw that in facing backwards as well. And when they match up, we'll just get that grub screw, and we'll drop that straight through the hole to connect both of your fire selector pieces. And once it's nice and tight, make sure it goes all the way down so that grub screw isn't protruding out the hole. Otherwise, you won't be able to move these selector switches. A good sign that you did everything correctly is that this guy should be able to move all the way around no problem, but it shouldn't click into place like it used to, because first things first, we have to add in both the spring and detent and the spring and washer. Now for the, washer, bearing. We're going to toss the bearing down on the left side. That should be as simple as just, again, the left side of the receiver, drop that little bearing down into the hole. And up next is the spring to follow it. Just push that on in there. And then lastly, the grub screw. Next is the spring and detent, and in order to make sure that we can get that guy all the way through, remember this is the pin that is detented in place, and when you push it out to the right side, it stays in place. So we're going to push this in from the right side now, like this. And once that's in, we're going to drop our detent in the back, followed by our spring and grub screw. And this just takes a little bit of pressure because it's a new unit. Next is the grip, and what's super cool if you have the stock grip, Tapp Airsoft in the box will include a drill guide that you can insert here. You'll see this is the port for your regular screw, your nut, and your bolt. It kind of just mocks it up. And then if you choose to, depending on what model you have, if the line comes from the top on a different replica that he makes, you can drill a line through your grip there. Or for this one specifically, which comes through the center, there is a drill port in the front that will allow you to run the line through the base of the grip. In our case, I have one from Tapp Airsoft that is already pre-drilled with all the lines and holes that I need to run an HPA line, or you can 3D print these on your own if you have them. All I'm going to do is drop this guy here, get that nut in place for the screw to get into. If I can ever get it in place. Holy, who would have thought that would be the hardest part? We'll run the line straight through the center hole because it comes from right under the grip. And you can see that's going to come out the base of the grip. It's going to take a little bit of pushing and convincing, but now I'm going to drop that bolt down to hold the grip in place. I would have done that all on camera, but I think we both know that it would take an hour for me to get that in there just by trying to hold it in place. But it is nice and snug now, everything's screwed up together. You can see the line comes down from the base and out the back. And now we have to attach our valve. The valve is a pretty simple upgrade to install. We're just going to pull this ring back, at the same time push the hose in as far as we can. And that'll keep that guy on there nice and snug. And now we can attach our HPA line. Now, one of the final things we have to do is actually take our stock off. Tapp Airsoft did go ahead and in the box include 2 different adapters for me too if I wanted. So I can install a rail stock, or I can install an AR style AEG stock, but I actually just want to use the stock that comes with it to make things nice and easy and show you how you do it if you don't have extra stock lying around. There's a small little E-clip there. We're just going to pry that guy out. I tend to like to use some sort of a flathead. I find those to be the easiest. Something small is probably a good idea. We'll just use a regular screwdriver. And we're going to get under that small little port and just start pulling. And with a little convincing, it'll come off. And then simple, you're just going to knock it out from the opposing side. Should come out pretty easy. And then we'll just reverse engineer that back on the upgraded stock. You know, with the stock free, we'll set it up where it needs to go. Should slide on in there. It's a nice snug fit. Cool. We'll drop that pin down from the top. Might take a little wiggling to get it to go all the way through. And then we can go ahead and just use a pair of needle nose pliers to drop that little clip in place. We take a look. Fits nice and snug. And that should also snap open too. To finally round things off, like I said, I had ran that Zenith kit from Rogueworks, and to install that, I had to make some modifications to the upper receiver by cutting out the port where the rear pin goes in place. So I had to pick up a cheap replacement. These are like 30 bucks. I got it on Simoon, and then it was $55 to ship, and then the import tax was $45. So I paid almost $150 for a plastic upper receiver. I should have just bought a new one. Anyways, okay, we're gonna throw this guy on in place. Now, one thing that the G5, like I said, is prone for is cracking the lower receiver. Ideally, we shouldn't have that problem with the excessive amount of girth in the back here. However, the guys over at Tapp Airsoft do supply you with a small little piece of cushion that you can throw on the back of your recoil guide rod. And for me, I have the Rogueworks one. I think it should be fine, honestly. If not, I'll go back to the stock variant. We're just going to install that there like that. And that should be cushioning enough when we reinstall everything back together, and that blowback system shouldn't crack this receiver now. We're just going to pop this pin back out now. Just go ahead and press it. We should be able to throw our receiver parts together. I'm going to drop the front pin in first, and remember we're going to throw that long pin with the hole in it from the right side of the receiver through to the left. Might take a little bit of adjusting. I dropped in pretty smooth. We will, oh, it came back out. All right, make sure that sits in all the way too. We're going to push the recoil pad back. Oh, hold on, that little sticker's popping off. There we go. We should now just be able to wiggle these pins back down. If I could find the point where that's going to drop in. You know what I'll do? I'm going to screw this side in first. Just make sure that stays completely still. And then we'll go to the rear pin. Should be good to roll. And make sure we're lined up. We are lined up. That's locked all the way in now. Oh man. I think it's all set up and ready to rumble. Take a look at that. Now, first of all, just from first glance, I want to say this thing is absolutely beautiful looking. And I think like the geometric and futuristic look behind this thing is definitely something really, really cool. And I almost think it just fits the build nice and smooth. The install itself, extremely smooth. However, in terms of difficulty, I would have to, you like the can on the front? I would have to put this at like the advanced to expert range. And the reason it's not 100% expert, because I know it is a lot. It is. The main thing is you don't actually have to modify anything. You're just stripping and rebuilding. So that is something to keep in mind. So like more of an advanced region for sure. It's definitely not an easy upgrade. But if you're willing to put in the time and the effort and the energy, is it worth it? I guess we're going to find out. Now, I did go ahead and pick up some ASG Scorpion EVO mags, and I do want to let you know that I did also try this, just like putting one in, the PTS mags. The PTS EVO mags don't work. They don't fit. I'm sure they work with the EVO, but they aren't going to fit on the inside of the gas or the mag well here. So let's just make sure everything works first before we install it. So right now, we should be, that's auto. This should be safe. There's a reset, and then we should be in safe. Cool, everything is good. You can see the bolt slides forward. This is empty. When we throw these guys in now, everything should, whew, that looks cool. Everything should function as expected, but the bolt should lock back. And this is your bolt release, I think? Is it? I don't know. I actually don't know what this does. Oh, it is your bolt release. Okay. So the original G5 doesn't have a bolt release. You just have to rack the bolt again. This is your bolt release, and you got to pull it down. See that? You can also, obviously, remove the mag. It's now like an AK style or an MP5 style mag release. You can also just recharge it again, which is really cool. Should we see if it fires? Of course we're going to. Not that it's the biggest of deals in the world if I can't use it like this, but I don't know what kind of adapter these mags are going to want if I want to fill it on the T238. I want to say it's going to need the AEG adapter, so I'll take the gas one off. Feed lips are a little weird, but they're very AEG-esque. And I'll just set these to infinite, and we'll see if these all fill. I did just fill up the HPA tank as well, so it's fully loaded. Looks like these take around like 60 BBs. So that's really cool. Did I get 3? Yeah, I got 3 of them. Now, another thing, huge factor, is these mags, I think it was like $40 for the 3 of them. when you take into consideration what the actual gas mags from the G5 are, you're looking at like 50 to 60 a pop sometimes, unless you can get them on the aftermarket. What happened there? Oh, I'm running out of BBs. Oh no. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna have to pick up some more BBs. So if this runs well, this gives you all the love of a gas blowback with cheaper mags. Generally, I'm not an HPA user, but I am so excited about this. I think this is absolutely revolutionary for its time. And I think that, like, we're bordering seeing a time where replicas like this that run HPA, but with all of the, like, real steel variant of GBB are going to be something that we might see coming out on the market as like a stock option to begin with. Okay, so we're going to start this guy off at, let's say, should we go, we'll stay at 80 psi. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but we'll try and run the 80 psi. And something that you should always note is start the hammer in a set position before you install your HPA line, otherwise it could drive a ton of unneeded force through your replica to start. Man, am I excited. Okay, so I got this thing loaded up with .3s. I have no idea if the hop is set, and this is a barrel that I cut myself because it was too long, so keep in mind the accuracy is going to be all over the place. I think what we want to see first of all is make sure that it can A, feed every round on semi, and then we'll see if it can feed every round on auto, and during both, does it lock back? Chances are it should, because our gas pressure should be around the same the entire time because we have such a big reservoir with the HPA tank. Let's go ahead and pull that guy back. You should see the BBs feed right to the top. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's feeding. That's crazy, and it's under hopping, but that is wild. Okay, let's try and throw this into fun mode. It's a little backwards. That's fun mode. Feeds every single one and locks back. No problem. Now again, the other cool thing is you're going to start to notice extreme efficiency when it comes to things like the cold because you're not dealing with gas pressure from propane. This is air pressure. Throw it back in semi, and we'll go again. Is it backwards? Nope, it's forward. Bang. And we lock back. That's wicked. We got one more mag. We'll run it on the steel target exclusively. And I'm just going to ramble off shots on semi as fast as I can. I mean, it keeps up with every single trigger pull. It feels nice and comfortable, ergonomic, and it's very similar to the way that the standard G5 was. You just got to remember the bolt lock is on the other side instead of just the charging handle, which I'm sure we could do, actually. I'm going to test that in a second. And then your mag reload is just, it's like an MP5. Bang. And of course we lock back and then it dropped the bolt. I should just be able to, oh, duh. It's gravity made. Let me go this way. Am I special? There we go. Remember, it's gravity made, so if the spring isn't pushing it upwards and you're holding it the wrong way, that little stop on empty is just gonna force itself north. And moral of the story, this thing is an absolute tank. Pop the line out. And now we have fully combined HPA and GBB, the best of both worlds. I'm telling you, this may be the future of airsoft as we know it. This is single-handedly allowing you the most efficiency, the least cooldown, the least cold defect, and all of those great things. You also lose the fart smell of propane, but you get to keep everything your GBB has. I don't understand why companies, I mean, again, I personally just love GBBs, and I don't love an umbilical cord hanging out the bottom of my replica, but I can't simply understand why any companies haven't thought to release something like this straight out of the box. It's always just an HPA engine or a GBB. I feel like this has a place in the market. It functions as it should, as long as it holds up and doesn't crack the lower receiver. I don't think it will because of all this extra like meat back here, like the stock one does. That is so cool. And no, the Rogueworks parts will not work compatibly with this, and I don't think you're going to need the one that keeps it from the receiver cracking. But also, unfortunately, I wish you could, but you cannot use the upgraded fire selector switch. There we go. Thanks a lot, Tapp Airsoft. Let me know what you guys thought. This thing is an absolute brute. So unique, so cool, and something so different. And if you're up for the upgrade, I think it's worth it. I'll catch you in the next adventure. Peace.